OG, it's sweet science cinema. What up, Jaimel, Hall of Fame wrestler, created with the feel. Son of a boxer, comic book artist, sweet science cinema. Know what my favorite part is? The whole thing. From the great white hype to Rocky and Creed, the Raging Bull. Oh no, I shouldn't spoil it. Come check out this episode and you'll find yourself enjoying it. Sweet science cinema.
And there's the bell. What's good, y'all? Kush Hayes here, coming to you with another episode of Sweet Science Cinema with me, the Hall of Famer, Jaimel Hemphill. How you doing, my man?
Feeling good, man. Feeling excited. Ready to talk about another great movie today.
This is a fantastic movie. This is something you picked out for this episode. One, thank you. I have never seen it prior to this. I thought it was very good. I watched it twice. It only got better. Why did you pick this?
You know, it was one of those movies. Now, I hadn't watched this movie since, I had to look it up. 2004 is when it came out. So 2004 is probably the last time I watched it. Wow. I don't think I saw it in the theater. I think I saw it it's time when we had a good friend, Shane Mai, who worked at Blockbuster. and I rented it and took a gander and watched it. And it was just when we thought boxing movies, this was just on my list. I remember it being a really good watch. Mm-hmm. And so I forgot how good it was, though. This is an astounding movie with a great cast. It's full of great character moments. And I think when you talk about boxing, what I'm going to say is the best part about this movie, it doesn't focus on the matches. It doesn't focus. What it actually focuses on is the sweet science. The narrator, Morgan Freeman, when he talks about boxing, the lessons that Hilary Swank's character gets are just some of the basic things that, I can remember, the little bit of education my dad gave me on boxing, the footwork, how to hit a speed bag. Like it's just the little things. It actually focused on the science of boxing. Like, so it's really good. And how it echoes, the character's arc, and it's just, I don't know. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of the movie is how it focuses on boxing as a technique. Nice. And explaining how that applies to her story as we go through her discovering herself and bonding with her trainer. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this one somehow slipped through my fingers, and by somehow, I'm up to date on stuff now. I couldn't always go to the cinema, so 2004. I'm in my early 20s. I'm living in an apartment, spending mad amounts of money on rent, so going to the theater isn't a thing. Yeah. I do believe this comes out on Netflix when it's a DVD only service, and I think I still passed the opportunity to see it for two reasons, and those were, one, we had just had Girl Fight 5 years before, which is a great movie, and then I had a friend, I think unintentionally, but just spoil it right out, just like, oh yeah, man, it's not about boxing, it's about euthanasia. And I was just like, what? You keep your weird death out of my boxing films. So I just kind of just went like, oh, all right, well, there's no point in seeing that. So yeah, and then it just never really came up. But yeah, you brought it up, so I purchased it for $8, and fantastic stuff. Yeah, not an ounce of fat on it. What is it? It's maybe a little over 2 hours, I want to say. Yeah,
I mean, this is a Clint Eastwood movie. It's 132 minutes.
Okay.
But it's lean. It's still lean. There's not an ounce of fat on this movie. Like, there's no, even the small moments with side characters still, there are multiple stories. There are multiple arcs going on, and every single character in this movie has an arc. Mm-hmm. And that's usually a marker of a great movie. Even a bit player, there's not one single actor in this movie that ends the movie in the same place that they are in the beginning of it.
That's true.
And I think that's the mark of a great movie.
At some point, we get to the tragedy, which is this woman does break her neck in the ring. Yeah. And then the movie goes on for another 45 minutes. There's a lot of redemption going on here. Throughout the entire movie, Clint Eastwood you hear stories about, like, you left me in Tupelo, Mississippi. And I think he must have abandoned his daughter at some point, because there's a whole storyline with that. At some point, he does pawn off Maggie, Hilary Swank. Yeah. And then when he does come back, she's like, so are you going to pawn me off again? And he's like, never.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of trial and testing going on in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, we start with we never explain. I mean, the entire movie is framed as a letter to Clint Eastwood's daughter's. Frankie Dunn is the name of the character. So Dunn is estranged from his daughter.
Yes.
And the entire movie is framed as a letter from Scrap Iron, which is Morgan Freeman's character, ex-boxer. He's writing to his estranged daughter to let her know her dad was a good man. So it's one of those things that provides really good flavor, and it's one of the things I really like. It's never explained. You know, it's never explained. We know he's estranged. We don't know what he did. We know that he has given up, right? Through his conversations with this local priest. The priest always asks him, have you written your daughter? He says, yeah. And the priest says, oh man, you're lying to a priest.
The priest doesn't believe him, but not only that, but Frank agitates the priest so much that he gets him to drop an F-bomb like right away.
Yeah.
At least for us, right away.
He's obviously been needling the priest with theological questions that aren't asked in good faith. It's not like the questions are bad or anything. It's just that it's obvious that he asked him these questions to needle him. They're not made in good faith. He doesn't want to understand.
He's bored and he's a troll.
Exactly. He's trolling his priest. But he won't stop going to church.
Yeah. And every day is apparently he comes in every day.
He comes in every day. So the priest tells him, he goes, I tolerate you. You know, he tells him, like, the only reason I see you every day is because you can't forgive yourself for something. So whatever he's done to his daughter is something that he feels the guilt for. So, or it could be, we don't know. Like, we don't know that those two things are connected. We don't know.
We immediately meet Frankie as he's working a fight, and he's got Big Willie Little in the ring. That's Mike Coulter.
Luke Cage himself,
young Luke Cage.
Yes, pre-goatee.
He couldn't even grow a beard. That's how young he was at this point. He's a very successful boxer. He gets a nasty cut. And then for whatever reason, they do this weird close-up on it when it does eventually get punched one more time. Yeah. I never figured out what the point of that was. It just gets blurry. Big Willie has been eligible for a title shot for at least 2 years now, and Frank's been keeping that away. What do you think that's about?
I'm not sure. I think maybe he's afraid. I think we learned that he was the trainer in the fight that Scrap Iron lost the use of his eye. And I think he has PTSD. He's afraid to take someone to that level because he's afraid he's going to get someone to that level again and let them down again. So I think the overall story of Frankie here is that he's more hurt than everyone around him. You know, he loves these boxers, and you know, even though fighting is in his blood, it's really hard for him to see any of his boxers lose. Right? He has a personal responsibility to these people. He loves them. He genuinely loves his boxers, and whoever he's training, he loves. You know, you see it in Danger, the skinny bantamweight who was obviously out of his class and shouldn't be boxing at all.
That's a Jay Baruchel.
Yeah, he can't even afford to pay his dues, but he lets him hang out because boxing is family to Frankie, right? These are his kids, you know. And even though most of them are adults, he's this old man who sees it as a community, you know, and he takes care of everyone. So I think what it is, he's afraid to take Willie to the championship. He wants to make sure Willie's completely unbeatable, but you know, every boxer has a window. You know, Scrap Iron makes the point that he had 105 fights in him, right? And Willie knows this too. Willie knows he's only got maybe 50 fights left in him, you know, and so he needs his money while he can earn it. You know, we start out, we see how much trouble monetarily he's in because Frankie has to help him get his wife's car back and things like that. So also, just for clarification, in that original scene where he's trying to pack the cut, he says you need to let him hit you because it would force the coagulant deeper into the cut.
Oh wow! All right, I figured it was just some sort of like an adrenaline thing, like just let him hit you where it hurts, and then you're either gonna get knocked out or you're gonna Hulk out. Yeah, he packed all that stuff in there, and he's like, yeah, you punch it, it'll seal it, and then you'll be able to see for the rest of the round. You know. We get a couple cool cut man scenes in this where at one point Hilary Swank has her nose broken. And he has to reset it. And then he's like, you only got 20 seconds, kid. What are we missing from that? So he resets the nose. He then shoves a couple of Q-tips and then he's like, breathe in. What is going on with that? Once
again, it's coagulant. So what he's done is he's created, like, he had to breathe in, get the cotton up there and the coagulant up there. And what he's saying is, like, you can't take much more of this. If she gets another clean hit on this, it's going to explode. Because basically he's created like a little dam in there. And so you've got a certain amount of time before your body forces it out because it's got to get rid of this blood. Mm-hmm. So I didn't remember that scene from watching the first time, so I was fully expecting it to explode on everyone in the front row. Like I was fully waiting for like it just to shoot out. But yeah, like he's shoving everything up in there. He's got cotton and coagulant in there, and eventually the blood pressure is gonna push it out. So, or if the opponent had gotten a good hit on her, it would have blown out her nose again. So that's why he's telling you, you've got a limit. I don't know if it's in real life it would actually work, or I don't think there would be any like, I don't think you could time it. I don't think anyone's that good, but he's basically telling her you've got a limited amount of time before you start bleeding profusely, and the doctor's going to stop the fight because of how much blood's going to come out. So
when we do meet Hilary Swank, it's at the same fight that Big Willie's just won his match at, and she hits Frank up. She's like, I want you to train me. You're the best, blah, 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 blah. And in good old Clint Eastwood fashion, he grunts, no. This becomes a thing for a while. It's in every good story, cinematic and real life, where someone just keeps getting rejected like 50 times, 100 times before finally they just give in and say like, fine, I will train you if it make you shut up, but I am sick of this. How long is Hilary Swank there before Frank finally gives in?
I think it's about 6 months or so.
Jesus.
Remember, she comes in and he's like, give her money back. And he asked her how long she signed up for, and I think he says 6 months.
Paid 6 months in advance.
Yeah, paid 6 months in advance. And this is shortly after a scene where they discuss how they are in serious financial trouble because Danger can't afford any, to pay, and other people, aren't paying or covering their dues like they should. So so finally he's like, crap, well, we need the money, so fine, let her box. Yeah, then he finally gives up. Also like Scrap Iron kind of presses the issue because he's the first person to give her a lesson. He shows her how to properly punch a bag. You don't punch the bag when it's coming towards you. You make it swing, and you punch when it's backing away. Just like you don't punch a person when they're coming towards you. You punch when they're recoiling. Right, that's what the timing's about. So, like teaching her how to hit the bag properly, how to work the bag, how to keep moving, those kind of things. Like, so now she knows how to hit a bag properly. So now she's actually practicing. Story ends if Scrap Iron doesn't give her those lessons. Right. So it's basically this beginning of the movie is her overcoming all the things that would stop someone like her from boxing. So being able to work the bag properly is the first step. Even though like it doesn't focus on her boxing matches, they all seem to end really quickly. Like she's still using the same lessons. That's what the great part is. Like she's still using the same lessons that they're teaching her in the boxing matches. You can see her moving around her opponent, hitting them when they back away. Like all those things. Like for as little boxing as there is in this movie, it is correct.
She's got a great hook. Also, like
I would not want to actually fight Hilary Swank.
No,
I would not. I understand that. Yes, you hear these stories about these actors all the time. Oh, they worked out, and then everybody says, "Hilary, she trained. She gained 19 pounds of muscle." Yada yada yada. That's all true. But you know what? I love Will Smith. I would never want to actually fight Will Smith, but I'm not as scared of Will Smith as Ali as I am of Hilary Swank as Maggie.
I'm more just scared of LL Cool J just waking up in his house. That's
LL Cool J can fight. Like I'm actually scared of Michael B. Jordan. Has some quick hands. Like he can actually throw. His footwork isn't as great, but Hilary Swank, her footwork is really like she really, really, really learned how to box.
Before Hilary Swank does get good and does get trained by Frank, she has had at least a match. Do we think she's had more than that? Her whole thing is like she's just self-trained. And it's miserable watching. Like it's very awkward. Even in that 6 months before Frank does pick her up, she should be showing some improvement. And even she admits just like nothing. I can't even work the speed bag properly now that I got a new speed bag. She
obviously boxed before in the exhibition, but it was probably like almost a strongman fight. She's low on the card. They probably let her fight because she paid to be on the card or something like that.
Ooh, how much does that cost? Do you think?
I don't know, but that's probably what happened, or she got a couple people to come watch or something, or, she's at this point, she's just a tomato can who maybe is a one punch wonder. She's one of those people who can't box. I mean, think about it. She wins all her matches by knockout. So not to insult a current boxer, but it's almost like Deontay Wilder was at the beginning of his career. Like he was not technically proficient, but if you got hit once by Deontay Wilder, you were going to sleep. So I think that's kind of like who she is at the beginning. She doesn't have any technique or anything, but she's gotten lucky a couple times and managed to knock somebody out, you know. And so, but she understands how far she has to go, which is the mark of a good fighter. So she's trying to get the best trainer to take her to the next level. But as you can see, she's never had any training. So yeah, right. After 6 months, she's still struggling with even the speed bag. She has no timing. She has no footwork. She doesn't have anything, you know.
Maggie is one of those people who's just, you know, scraping to make ends meet, you know, literally counting pennies and all that. And I'll get to that in a second, but she doesn't have a TV or even a VCR. In 2000, is this supposed to be modern day 2004, or is this sometime earlier in the 80s? What do you think?
Yeah,
and where I'm going with this is Jay Baruchel's Danger.
Yes,
this guy's a special kind of stupid. In fact, I'm just going to say he's a functioning retard. I know that's not PC. I don't have and I'm not talking about his very intro. I'm talking about later in the thing where he's literally examining a bottle of water. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Scrap Iron, how'd you get the ice in this little hole?" Like, people understand how ice works, man. Okay, there are people with actual like with severe mental impairments that understand ice. So that's where I'm just going with that.
So obviously he's damaged, and like we can infer that his family abandoned him.
Okay.
Right, because like they say he came out with his stepdad or something.
Yes.
The stepdad just drives off and leaves him there. Right, like so he's abandoned by his family. And remember, Morgan Freeman's character Scrap Iron is narrating this story. So Scrap Iron is aware of where this kid came from. He's aware that he doesn't have anyone. So that's the reason he's allowed to stay in the gym with no. He'd be on the street.
Everyone has a mascot. I dig it.
Yeah. I mean, this is supposed to be, you know, L.A. or whatnot. He'd be on Skid Row if they didn't give him a place to be. So like they know where he's from. They know. But yeah, he's just a mascot. You know, he's the kid you let hang around. You know, but he keeps out calling out Marvin Hagler, like you said. But then they also say later in the movie, like, we didn't have the heart to tell him that Marvin Hagler had retired a couple of years before. So that means it could be any time in the 90s. It could be, you know, it could have been the 2000s. But that's one of the great things about this movie is that the time frame doesn't matter. It's a pretty timeless story.
Yeah, there's no cell phones. Yeah, if I recall, there's no cell phone.
Yeah.
That skinny Nokia, which would have been a thing in 2004. That's not a thing. What do you think Danger does for work? Because he still has to make a living somehow, whether or not he's paying dues.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I don't think he's panhandling or nothing, but maybe he has another buster job like Maggie does. You know, there's a lot of. I mean, he's not physically incapable, so this is a kid. He's obviously working out, you know, so maybe he's working at FedEx or something, or moving boxes, or maybe he's working retail. You know, there's all kinds of jobs that he can get, you know, stock boy. I don't know. But, you know, it's one of those things like it doesn't matter. Like you're kind of in media res. You're immersed in this world. People exist. And it's like coming to meet new friends. You know, you don't know their whole story. You know what you're exposed to. And once again, I think it's just a mark of a great writer and great director. You know, Clint Eastwood did a really good job of finding the right people to play these roles, and the writer really did a great job of fleshing everyone out. Like I said, everyone has an arc. Danger has an arc. Scrap Iron has an arc. Maggie and Frankie have an arc. So, yeah.
Scrap Iron, I call him chaotic neutral. He seems to be influencing a lot of things here. At 2 points to two different people, he goes, so-and-so isn't talking to so-and-so. Is that code for something? Because it sounds like he's trying to warn. In one scene, he's trying to warn Frank that Big Willie might just get snatched there. That's absolutely what it is. But if I was also in Frank's position, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've been friends long enough that I'm sure Frankie understood what he was saying. He just didn't think it was possible. I think one of the biggest moments is when Maggie also almost gets that. You know, Scrap Iron sets her up with the same guy.
Definitely sets her up. It's
with the same on her birthday. He sets her up with the same guy who snatches Big Willie.
Mickey Mack,
yes. So and I think that's a turning point in the show or the movie when Maggie goes to Mickey Mack and says, "Hey, I appreciate you, but I'm never going to leave Frankie. So you don't have to set this up again. Don't find a way to accidentally bump into me." And I think that goes to show you that as of that moment, Frankie finally has a boxer who is loyal to him as he is to them. And so I think Scrap Iron, like, obviously Frankie only felt some type of way about her, right? Up until then, Scrap Iron knows this. So he's like, well, I'm going to help you get to where you need to go, right? And I'm sure, once again, we're seeing this from Scrap Iron's point of view. So obviously Scrap Iron knows what happened, right? So Mickey Mack told Scrap Iron, nah, she said she's down with Frankie, which I think Scrap Iron maybe made apparent to Frankie, like, yeah, I tried to hook her up.
Yeah.
She's
Scrap
not
Iron
gonna leave
continues to influence people. Again, it was never alluded to, but he definitely set up Big Willie and Mickey Mack. He attempted to do the same thing with Maggie and Mickey as well. He keeps Danger around as the mascot. He's letting him slide on dues. And then there's a whole thing where Anthony Mackie, Sherelle Berry, at this point in the story, when they get to Danger and Sherelle's fight, it's been like a year and a half, because that's how long Maggie's been in the gym now. They did that on her birthday.
Yeah.
Where do you think that all comes from? Why would it take Sherelle like over a year to finally just even punk out Danger like that?
I think it's just, like it's a classic abuser, and like I said, every single character has an arc, right? And Sherelle's arc, played by, our new Captain America and backed up by Michael Pena, who's one of my favorite actors, he gets more and more abusive, just like any abuser, right? He keeps pushing the limits of how he's going to treat this guy, right? And then he finally takes it physical by getting him in the ring, So at least that's the way I read it. But it seemed to me like he was just like any other bully or abuser. You start with words, and then you keep doing stuff and you keep doing stuff. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's actually physically abusing him, And remember, Sherelle, Danger insults him, or Maggie insults him too, when she talks about him getting knocked out, right?
That's a very fun scene. Even Clint Eastwood, who was annoyed to death with Danger, just like, that's funny.
Yeah, exactly. And Danger was able to get that. So I think it starts there, and he's in, like, he's what, eighth on the call list. This isn't a character that we're going to get a whole lot of depth on. But obviously that's setting up that now he resents the fact that he can't beat up Maggie, right? But you can beat up the other guy who made fun of you. So you can see that there's a through line there. Like, he gets resentful of Danger and then decides, like, I'm going to beat him up one day. And then, he puts the paws on him, and then Scrap Iron has to come in and retire him.
I'm 100% surprised that Sherelle and Maggie didn't get into some sort of altercation in or out of the ring. That usually is a trope for one of these things. Yeah,
you thought it was gonna go that way. Like, it was set up to go that way. That the usual story would be that Sherelle's #1 student and he's jealous or whatever. But it kind of zigs when you expect it to zag, and Sherelle is just another guy in the gym, which is, once again, another reason why this movie is great. Like, every character is made to seem important to the story, even if they're not. They get an arc, and there's definitely a beginning, middle, and end for each character.
During the entire movie, we have a looming threat during a boxing career, and that's Billy the Blue Bear. This is an East German boxer, a female boxer, former prostitute. She is hardcore and a dirty player at the same time. Now, I don't know what league she is in when she's in Germany as their champion. She's doing headbutts, and she's pie-facing fools and, like, hitting people when they're down, and people are only applauding, and the ref's got nothing to say.
Yeah.
It's when we get to her fight with Maggie that nothing makes sense, where, like, she's literally throwing an elbow. Like, this is all blatant right in front of the ref.
Yeah.
And at most, like, after 3 altercations, he's like, all right, I'm going to deduct a point. And if you do that again, then I'm going to disqualify you. Yeah. When in real life, this would have been a disqualification first off. At least I like to think it would have been, right? Yeah. Where do you think she crossed the line?
I mean, the moment the elbow hits. Yeah, it's like the elbow. Like, they explain by some of it, like, Frankie actually instructs Maggie to cheat, right? He instructs her to cheat. And he's like, yeah, just keep your body between her and the ref. So she's like getting her right in the sacrum, just pounding her in the kidneys, right? That's totally illegal, but the ref can't see it, So I think what they're saying is, like, what you notice is the Blue Bull does the same thing. Like, when she has those people in those weird headlocks and everything, it looks like they're hugging it out as long as her back, she keeps her back to the ref, So that's a lot of the stuff. The elbow was just blatant. And I think what it was is that the ref didn't see the elbow, and maybe the cinematography could have been a little bit better to explain that. Mm-hmm. But when she's hugging her and throwing her down, and then the late hit, that's one thing. The same thing happened in Floyd Mayweather versus who was it? I can't remember who it was fought, but Floyd hit him like pretty much late. Like mm-hmm. they both had dropped their guard, and Floyd hits him and won by knockout. The only reason he won is because he was knocked out. But had the guy got up, Floyd wouldn't have been disqualified. If you can still fight, it's just a point deduction.
Was this the fight where the guy had headbutted Floyd?
Yeah,
and then he kept like, "My bad, dog, my bad," and like, the ref instructs him to fight, and then he still does and Floyd
just bow. Yeah, exactly. Protect yourself at all times.
My cousin's 7-month pregnant wife jumped up when she saw that. Like she was heavy with a child, and she's just like, I've never seen anyone get up that fast. It was that was a fun.
But it was both her and the kid getting up, like, oh yes. My god. But yeah, like I think the only reason she wasn't disqualified is because Maggie was able to get back up, and it wasn't any serious damage or whatever. But yeah, and Maggie definitely would have won the fight had she not fell on. I think what we have to make sure is that her crippling injury is not from the cheap shot from the Blue Bull. It's Frankie is unable to grab the stool and move it back out of the ring in time to stop her from landing in the worst way possible. Like,
I mean, experienced corner man puts the stool in. I don't even know if he put it in early, but because of the sucker punch, the
stool was out early and incorrectly. It's laying on its side so that she can land with the lip of the seat into her neck.
You know what? Even if she fell onto the flat part of the seat, I don't know if that would have gone any better. Like,
yeah. I mean, it might have been a neck extension, but I don't think it would have like severed the spine.
It might have even killed her. Like,
I don't know. But yeah, the chair definitely came out early, and Frankie's unable to do it, and I think that's part of his guilt, right? He's taken another fighter to the main event.
Oh yeah, this was the worst. This was his worst case scenario nightmare.
Yeah, and his career he's ended another fighter's career. It's in his heart, he thinks it's his fault that he's taken another fighter where they shouldn't have gone, and they've ended their career, which shows his hesitation at getting Willie out there at the beginning of the movie. Like that, it all ties together.
Now, before the injury and then after the injury, we meet Maggie's family, and they are motherfuckers all the way. Like. She describes her sister is cheating on welfare by claiming one of her dead babies.
Yes.
Her brother is in jail. He does eventually get out. She says her mom's weighs over 300
pounds. Yeah.
I don't think that's true, but still, just it's some of the ugliest people you've ever met.
Very disrespectful. Very just the worst
leeches.
The worst kind of human beings. Who complain when she gets them a house.
Complains and is like, I'm going to lose my welfare.
Yeah.
My God. That's one of this movie's many heartbreaking moments.
Yeah.
The same as the next heartbreaking moment is they're trying to get her to sign a contract.
Yeah. Basically sign away her fortune.
Yes.
All the money she's earned to them. And it's painfully obvious that once she signs this paper, she's never going to see her family again. Like, it's painfully obvious, right? Like, the movie makes it very apparent that they have flown out to see her. They know that she's paralyzed. They know that she's suffering. And yet they still go to Universal Studios for a week before visiting their
and if she could have got up, we would have taken her too.
If she could have got up, we'd take her too. For 6 days. Don't answer the phone. They just come out for an entire week and take a vacation. And you have to assume at this point it's still on Maggie's dime. Because she said she's going to send them money.
Sending them money. So
she's been sending money. So it's probably on her dime that they're doing all this. And they've shown up. And then, like, it isn't even, they do talk to her for a while, but pretty much they show up with the lawyer. So there's no reconciliation. There's no intention of caring for her.
No, the majority of the time there is getting her to sign a contract. But even before that, they're like, just negatively criticizing, like, your hair is greasy, and look at the way you're breathing. Wow, you look like this woman is hooked up to respirators. She she's in such a terrible position that machines have to breathe for her, and they're just like, you look stupid breathing. Eventually, this woman, after years of a terrible family and losing her dad and her dog, and just being a waitress at the age of 13 and counting pennies and sending that money to her ungrateful mama, she then gets paralyzed, quadriplegic. I don't know if that was a word. I just made it up. Maybe I did. But then she gets bed sores. And then they lop off her goddamn leg. Jaimel, how much pain does this woman have to go through?
I mean, like, it's beyond. It's beyond now.
They never say that she's in a shitty healthcare facility before they transfer her to the next one.
Yeah.
But even at the next one, apparently no one is just like pushing her on her side for like an hour to make sure she
it's I don't even understand how the bed sore. I mean, it come from, and now once again, you know, I've dealt with family members, unfortunately, and people who have been bedridden for some time. So I know how bed sores can develop, but realistically, there are magnesium patches and all kinds of things you can put on there. But I've never dealt with someone who's been paralyzed. You know, I don't know if like that exacerbates it because the blood isn't flowing like it should, but gosh, that got really bad. That got really rotten really quick.
It got so bad, like the doctor is examining her leg, and it's like, smells pretty bad there, doesn't it? Like it's one of those things where you can smell the movie, which is a rare thing that only a few movies have been able to make you smell them. Eventually she loses that leg, and then finally she's just like, yo, while it's been a hard life, you've given me a great life, but now please take me out of this hell. And Frank struggles with it for a minute, just a minute, but like, this shouldn't end well for Frank. Despite his heart being in the right place, he's already told his priest, like, thinking of murdering my student. Scrap Iron catches him with the bag. By the way, why is he carrying a big ass black? Just one needle, one little syringe, put it in the side pocket. No one would know.
There's a bunch of theories on this because the big question is, do we know what Frank did afterwards? Right? So, you know, was Frank planning on ending himself after the time? You know,
are we thinking he didn't make it to the diner at the end?
Well, remember when he ate at the diner with Maggie when they went back to visit her home to buy the house. And what did he say when he ate the pie?
Now I can finally die.
Yeah, exactly. So did he go back to the diner to buy it, or did he go back to the diner to have his last meal?
Okay.
So, you know, there's I've seen both things as trains of thoughts. My personal thing is I hope that he went and bought the diner, you know, and found peace. But, you know, remember the priest warns him, if you do this, you might get lost. You know, you won't be able to forgive yourself. This will be the
worst thing you've ever done, regardless of whatever guilt you're feeling now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know, you know, he kind of just walks off and we don't know how he handled it, you know, because by the end, they're father and daughter. You know, she's become his surrogate daughter to replace the one that he failed before. You know, so
I bring up the time period again because there would be security cameras all over that hospital. They would have footage of him coming in, going into the room, and leaving the room. And it would be pretty easy to put two and two together. But since they don't, the scene we get of Frank finally walking down the hallway after he's given her the injection is Morgan Freeman creeping out of the shadows like a vampire, or even Batman. Just like, and at first I went like, no, Morgan Freeman, get out of there. You're now an accessory, and they're going to point it on you, dude. Like it's you can't be the old black guy around a dead body in the hospital. Get out of there.
To be honest, the one thing that threw me off is the moment she was on a monitor. So the moment it flatlines, that's a code blue where all the alarms should have went off and they should have come and tried to save her anyway. So you know, I remember thinking the first time I watched the movie is like, yo, how's he going to get away when they come running down the hall? You know, to resuscitate her, but that doesn't even happen.
Moonwalked out of that hospital.
He just shuffled on out. So it doesn't. That part, it takes a little bit of creative license, but to get you to where they want the story to go. But you know, once again, I think this is meant to be a timeless movie. This could have taken place in the 50s, Could have took place in the 60s. Could have took place in the 80s. Could have took place, today.
It's definitely past the 80s because HBO comes up in a cheap
HBO does
plug.
come up. Yes.
This was a fantastic movie. So let's break down the nuts and bolts. So it comes out technically in 2004, but it can also be considered a 2005 movie, and I'm about to break down why. It comes out December 15th, 2004, and is only in 8 theaters. On its first day, $29,000. At the end of its first week, $235,000. Now it will make, over its run, it'll make over $216 million worldwide. But those first 2 weeks, it comes in the year 2004 at number 268 out of however many movies were made. 2004's top 5 that year will be Shrek 2, Spider-Man 2, Passion of the Christ, Harry Potter 3, and The Incredibles. Now, this play is done so it'll be in contention for the following Academy Awards. Once we cross into 2005, it is then released into like 1,800 theaters. And then the highest it ever goes is 3rd place. But because of its successful run and the fact that it had how many nominations, still walked away with the Best Picture, the Best Director, which would be Eastwood's 2nd award, Hilary Swank's 2nd Best Actress, and Morgan Freeman's 1st Best Supporting Actor. It closes out 2005 at number 19. This is like a young up-and-comer pro wrestler in the PWI 500. This movie does pretty fantastic again, makes over $200 million worldwide, and then just finally fades out. It does its things, but 2005's top 5, Star Wars Part 3, Harry Potter 4, Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds, the first failed Narnia film, and Wedding Crashers. That's your 2004-2005 list. So Clint Eastwood became the oldest man to win a Best Director at the age of 74. Fun Clint Eastwood story. I don't know how true it is. I don't know what movie it was on. Clint Eastwood, at his old age, keeps getting director roles because he always comes in on time, comes in under budget, and most of the times, whether it's good or bad, gets some sort of Academy Award nomination.
It's true. It's true. The guy doesn't miss. It's really weird.
He's missed a couple times, but people still like his work. He's never raised his rate. Whatever a living wage a director makes, that's where he keeps the window in. So he's never asking Warner Brothers for an exuberant rate. He has only one request out of all of this stuff, is that no one parks in his parking space. So there's a story, again, I don't know what movie was on, but someone parked in the space reserved for C. Eastwood. And apparently he pulled out the driver, his golf club driver, out of his trunk and just bashed the shit out of this car, and no one could do anything about it. I'm sure he paid for it, but still, like that's your Clint Eastwood fun fact for the day.
Wow.
Let's see. This is only the 2nd boxing movie to win Best Picture. The first one is Rocky. Sandra Bullock was going to play Maggie first, but then was contractually obligated to do Miss Congeniality 2. Wow,
that's sad.
I
would like to have seen Sandra Bullock. I mean, she was amazing in Long Kiss Goodnight, but this is one of those movies now.
That's Gina Davis.
Oh yeah, wait. Oh yeah.
Speed. The chick from Speed.
Yeah, you know what? I don't mind Sandra Bullock not getting this role. I don't know why I always get her and Gina Davis mixed up, but Gina Davis would have been good in this role. Sandra Bullock, not so much. And even with that being said, I can't see anyone but Hilary Swank doing this now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It definitely would have been a different movie. Speaking of a different movie, Morgan Freeman was going to be Frank Dunn for a hot minute. And then he's just like, no, this Scrap Iron character is who I should be.
So that was Morgan Freeman's choice.
That's what, according to the IMDb trivia, always take that with a grain of salt, but that's part of the trivia. Billy the Blue Bear, that was actually Hilary Swank's boxing coach. That's Lucia Riker. I'm not saying her last name properly, but The Blue Bear trained Hilary Swank. Again, Hilary Swank, fantastic hook.
Yes.
There's a scene where they just left Mama's new house, dejected, and Hilary Swank's looking at a little girl with a puppy in a truck at the gas station.
Yes, yes.
That is Clint Eastwood's daughter.
Oh, wow.
You know what her name is? Morgan.
Oh.
Again, IMDb trivia. I'm just, maybe it's true, maybe it's not.
Clint Eastwood had a kid at like 60?
Yeah, man, the pen will still produce ink all the way up until 80.
Wow. Goodness.
Tony Curtis, you know that name?
Yeah.
That dude had children way into his 70s. He also had several wives, but he had kids all the way up there.
Wow.
See, this is the 25th movie Clint Eastwood has directed, the 57th movie he has acted in, and got like 5 Academy Awards under his belt because of it. 8 nominations for Eastwood, 5 wins. 2 of those were for Best Director.
Wow.
Makushla, I can't. Yeah, I don't know how to properly say it. It feels like people are mispronouncing her ring name the entire time. Sometimes it's Makushla, sometimes it's Makusha.
Yeah. I think maybe it's just different people's accent, but it is Gaelic. I know that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And according, while we do get the explanation, I should have written it down. Again, per the IMDb trivia, it means my pulse, but can mean my love or my darling. The translation will be pulse of my heart.
Right.
That'd be a weird thing to cheer for. And then finally, Hilary Swank gained 20 pounds of muscle for this role.
Yes. Yeah. She was incredibly fit, but it goes in. That was her thing. Like, she made her debut. Like, to me, her debut in my world is the next Karate Kid, and then she played. So she's always been gravitating toward these action roles, these martial arts roles. So
I don't have her IMDb profile up, but I want to say she's a very brief supporting character in the first Buffy movie.
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
Is.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, good for me. That's some useless trivia I kept on. Dude, this has been a fantastic movie. I can't thank you enough for recommending it. Like, I wouldn't have seen this otherwise. I would absolutely recommend everybody check this out. This is more than a boxing movie. Like, it's definitely one of those. It's sad, but it's something you should see.
Yeah. One thing I think we should go over before we leave it down is the ending. She is making the choice to end her life one way or another. And a lot of people
begging him.
And I think I did notice when reviewing, just looking at the reviews and stuff of this movie after I watched it the second time, is like people were really there were a lot of people who were disability advocates who had a problem with someone ending their life simply because they were paralyzed. Right. As opposed to someone like a Christopher Reeve, who still went on to even act and lived life as full as he could, even though he was rendered a quadriplegic. So there were some people who felt that the ending made it look like life wasn't worth living if you lost your mobility. And
was Terry Schiavo a thing at this time? 2004,
I can't remember.
2005?
I can't remember. I think it all blurs together to me sometimes. But
fair enough. Yeah.
I think she was before this.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't think it was at the same time, but I was just looking, like, for instance, like, there's an old NBC article about the $1 Million Baby ending and whatnot. So, I mean, it's from 2005, early on in 2005. As a matter of fact, it has a spoiler warning, so that's how early it was. But I just wanted to say, like, it's hard for me to believe, like, to see another minority. In this case, the minority is disabled people who are interpreting it in this way and saying, hey, it makes us feel less valued because, you're saying it's not worth it if you have to live like us. And I can understand how they see that. But I don't necessarily see her decision to leave as that. I think it's more of a conscious decision of saying, I've done what I wanted to accomplish. And I want to leave now while these memories are fresh. I don't want memories of me not doing what I love to be greater than the memories of me doing what I love. Like, she could have probably lived for another 10, 15 years, right? Like they're depending on the medical care she got. And then she could have lived, but there is no way for her to do what she was doing. Like, it's not the same as like a Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve was still able to act. He was on Smallville. He did a Rear Window movie. Like, he was still able to do the thing he loved. There's a huge difference between simply having to exist differently and then completely severed from what you think is your reason for being. And I think like we have to take that into account into the story of this character making that choice. So I just wanted to, if anyone who's disabled has listened to this episode, I just wanted to make it a point that I wanted to make sure their voice was heard or feel that you're seen and addressed, that issue for you. And I understand why you would feel that way. So I don't want to devalue your opinion in any way. However, I think in this case, the decision made by the character is a little more informed than just saying, oh, I'm disabled, it's not worth living. It's more of, I cannot do what I feel is my reason for being. This is why I was put here on this earth, and I can't do it anymore. That's a hugely different decision as opposed to just saying my quality of life isn't going to be the same. So
I remember leaving the movie thinking, like, you know, if she has incredible willpower, like she was able to overcome all these things. And I think if she had the strength to do so, she would have been able to walk in like 5 years, just to throw out a number.
Yeah.
But again, people are only so strong, and maybe not everyone wants to tackle that confrontation or that challenge, you know?
Yeah.
And again, she's an adult. She made up her mind. She's like, I lived a great life. Like, that's more strength. Like, I don't know if I could do that. I think maybe if I was in that position, part of me would want to die, but also the sooner I was like, no, maybe tomorrow I'll be able to move my little pinky finger like Christopher Reeve finally did before.
Yeah.
Ultimately, his immune system was compromised. That's what took him. You know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I bet you that dude would be walking right now.
Totally. He would have made an appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths. You know.
And he'd been great too.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. I didn't think of any controversy going in, but again, I wasn't following this movie when it first came out. I can see a lot of pro-lifers having a problem with this film, but at the same time, just like, hey man, you ain't me, and this doesn't affect you, or it shouldn't. I don't know. So, not to end this on a downer, this was a great movie.
No, it was fantastic. A great story, a touching story of a guy who finds a new daughter and a woman who finds a new dad, and they do great things together.
Yeah. So, and while Clint Eastwood is a controversial director now because Grandpa has an opinion on who's in the office, he still knows how to make a movie, and maybe they're not all hits out of the park, but this one is. Whatever you feel about Clint Eastwood, I would actually recommend you put that aside and just watch the product, and I bet you'll enjoy it.
The only unbelievable thing in this movie is when Clint Eastwood looks at the letters. Frankie, Clint Eastwood's character, looks at the letters he's received from his daughter that have all been returned to sender, and they're in Nike boxes. And I was like, that's unbelievable, because Clint Eastwood has Skechers. Like, I
was gonna say New Balance myself,
or Newbies, or New Balance or Kids. Yeah, there's no way he has a closet full of Airs. That's not happening. He does not have the latest J's. Like this guy.
Nike makes more than Jordans.
Those are all Velcro, baby. Those are all. Those are all walkers.
What do you want to plug?
Oh man, keep a lookout on Comixology, NPC Comics. Google it. You should be seeing the new trade paperback version of my latest books, Sun Lar, collected edition, 4-issue trade. Only $10 on Comixology. Pick it up, and that should be out next month. And just keep a lookout on npccomics.com for all the new stuff.
That's great. I do a bunch of things here. Check out Kush and Kai. Check out the Kick-Ass Movie Podcast. Check out the Microdose. We do a bunch of things. Again, it's me. So just find me there. It's going to be a good time. I promise you, we have fun. So I've been Kush Hayes.
I've been Jaimel Hemphill.
And you've been you. Thanks, guys.
from the Bosnet family.
Gosh, that got really bad.